Hello and welcome once again to the Phone Show. MWC 2014 is just around the corner and this year's show is promising to be one of the most exciting yet. We'll be telling you why we're so excited in just a moment, but first, here's a look at some of the latest happenings in the smartphone world. It looks like the Sony Xperia Z2 has been leaked in all its glory in a 12-minute YouTube video. The Sony Xperia Series D6503, as it's called in the clip, shows off a similar looking phone to the Z1 with a host of fancy new features, including a 4K video recording mode, tweaked UI and smart controls. Believe it or not, a new octa-core BlackBerry may be due to land later this year. Pocket Lint says it's got word from a trusted source that the company's working on a handset with a 64-bit processor running the show, packing 4 gigs of RAM and Adreno 430 graphics. Can this compete with the iPhone 6? Speaking of which, sources claiming to be from the Apple supply chain reckon Apple might bring a thinner iPhone 6 to the market as early as June. The same sources told LED Inside the iPhone 6 will be slimmer than the 5S by using smaller LED backlights. This rumour is bound to raise a few eyebrows, but we've heard the June launch rumour before, which also ties in with when WWDC is held. Still, take this one with a healthy dose of salt for now. And finally, those waiting for the HTC One 2 might not have to wait much longer. The company has given a potential launch date of March 25th via its official Twitter feed, advising us to mark it in our diaries. And now it's over to Gareth, Beavis and John McCann to tell you all about this year's Mobile World Congress in sunny Barcelona.
So MWC is happening next week. Are we excited? It's going to be a big deal because last year it really didn't hit many heights.
Yes, it is going to be a big deal. We're expecting big things from Samsung and Sony. We're also hearing LG, HTC and Nokia are all bringing something to the table as well. So there's going to be lots to get our teeth into. And that's great because, as you said, last year there wasn't any real big hitters. I mean, the biggest hitter for me, Samsung Galaxy S5. That's what everyone's probably going to be talking about. What are you hearing about that?
Well, this is a weird one. I think we're going to get not just one, but two Samsung Galaxy S5s. I mean, they'll probably be named something different, but one version will be QHD, really high res, 2K screen, possibly have a metal body, you know, a real departure, the step forward we're hoping for. After that, we've got the sort of full HD polycarbonate version that will be more of an incremental step from the Galaxy S4. As well as that, I think we're going to see the Galaxy Gear sequel, so probably the Galaxy Gear 2. And that will be something that basically says, you know what, the Galaxy Gear was probably too expensive, too feature-packed, looked a bit too strange, and we need to refresh it. So whether that comes based on Tizen or on Android, I don't know. But Samsung's probably going to change that, and I think it's going to be a really interesting show. I mean, what do you think about the Galaxy Gear? Is that a problem by changing it so quickly?
I mean, the Galaxy Gear came out last year, okay, maybe more 6 months ago, but annual renewal cycles of tablets and phones we're used to. So having a smartwatch which is refreshed every year isn't a huge surprise. There will be questions over why has Samsung done it, you know, has it succeeded? It wasn't the best thing. Will it go onto Tizen or Android? I think it will stay at Android. It would seem odd for them to move it to Tizen. I'm also questioning the dual Galaxy S5 setup. It seems a bit odd to have two. I think it's only going to confuse people having two of the same handset.
Yeah, I mean, Apple's done it with the iPhone. I mean, the iPhone 5S, the iPhone 5C, they're two very disparate devices. I mean, in all likelihood, the Galaxy S5 moniker will stick with the really high-end device, and the second one will have some different name. I don't exactly know what, because we're hearing both of the S5. Also, the Full HD variant, which will be the lesser, will come out first, because we're hearing that the QHD screen is behind in production, maybe almost 2 months. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting time for consumers over the next few months when they're deciding which phone to get. They may be forced to say, do I want this new phone now, which I've been waiting for, or do I wait a couple of months and get an even better version? The same with the Galaxy Gear, really. I think the people that maybe would have spent £300 buying the Galaxy Gear, possibly more because they had to buy a Note with it as well as a bundle, and now it's going to be obsolete. I can genuinely see it going to Tizen because, there are apps that have been used for the first one to port over, but you can move those into Tizen. Development-wise, Samsung made it very easy to take your Android app and put it into Tizen. So it would be interesting to see it take it to its own proprietary smartphone platform because, simply put, it's a move forward. Now, the interesting thing for me is not just the fact that Samsung's going to be there, but that Sony seems to be having a really big effect. We're looking at rumours of a sequel to the Sony Xperia Z1 already. The Sony Xperia tablet could be refreshed. So, I mean, is that too soon for Sony? I mean, we only had a flagship 6 months ago.
Of course, yeah, as you say. Last year we had the Z and the Z1. Now there's talk of the Z2. That's 3 flagship phones in just over 12 months. And that does seem a highly contained period of launching phones. And, anyone who's got a Z1, it wasn't a cheap phone to get, will probably feel a little bit disheartened if it's already being replaced. But maybe that's because it didn't sell particularly well for Sony, or they weren't overly happy with it. So that perhaps they're giving it a little spec boost to really sort of reaffirm its position in 2014.
Yeah, we've only seen it in rumour so far, but what we've seen in terms of leaked pics and things like that basically say it's the Z1 but a little bit better. So I'm really interested to see what Sony does to move this forward and to say this is a new phone, it's really exciting. You know, you should think about buying it, even though we only launched one last year. I think if you went from the Z to the Z2 and took out the Z1 completely, it would make perfect sense. But there is that middle ground for some reason. So yeah, it may annoy some people, but essentially, I think it's always good to see new handsets. So I'll be interested to see how Sony plays that. On top of that, we're hearing rumours of a tablet. You know, that's come fairly recently, so I'm not sure how much stead we should put in that. But I mean, the Tablet Z came out a year ago, so it definitely needs a refresh, right? Yeah,
I mean, it is time for a new tablet from Sony, that's for sure. But the rumours have been a little hard to come by.
I think Sony definitely has got the right move forward. If it has those two headline devices, I think it will be a real player at this event. Less so, I think, LG. You know, we've kind of already seen what they're going to do.
Yep.
The LG, the G Pro 2 has already been done. It's already been announced. Doesn't look like it's going to come to the UK anytime soon. So that's a phablet that's going to happen already. I mean, like the F series is there as well. Is that all that's going to come from LG?
They've also announced the L series, which is a trio of sort of budget Android devices varying in screen size. And they don't usually wow, they're just there, they fill the space, they complete LG's range. There is talk of the LG G2 Mini though.
From what I've seen spec-wise, it doesn't seem very exciting. It seems to be basically the LG G2 frame condensed down with some fairly average specs, you know, QHD screen, but the rubbish QHD, so like less than full HD. And it's just basically a phone that should have come out last year. It doesn't seem like very exciting other than the fact it's playing on the G2 name. You know, it should have been there with the HTC One Mini, the Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini, but it's just too late for this now. My problem is trying to work out exactly what's going to be the best story of the event. You know, like what's going to be the big hitter? Is it going to be Samsung? Is it going to be a surprise from Sony? Or is it going to be Nokia's Android phone? I mean, what do you think?
I mean, the Samsung Galaxy S5, if it launches, is always going to do big news. It's always going to go global. Samsung's a massive brand. The Galaxy brand is incredible in terms of its reach. So we're going to hear a lot about that either way. Personally, I'm really interested to see what Nokia is doing with Android. That's the one. That's some interesting innovation, which is away from what we can probably already guess is going to be in the Sony and the Samsungs and the LGs. So to see what Nokia has first would be really great. Also, I'm wondering what HTC is doing. We know we're not going to get the successor to the One. That looks like it's got its own event on March 25th. But we are hearing sort of mid-range devices, and that's really an area where HTC needs to pay a bit more attention. It's got the One, which did very well critically last year. It maybe didn't sell as many as it possibly should have. And hopefully its successor will sell even more and still be great. But its mid-range lineup is a bit flaky.
Yeah, I mean, the mid-range market didn't really exist till a year ago, and now the One Mini is quite good at playing in there, but we're hearing word of the Desire 8, which could be a larger screen phablet device. You know, we don't really know who that's for. You know, it's been tipped heavily in Asia, so if that's all that HTC brings to MWC, it'd be fairly anonymous at the event, and I think it's a good thing, really. If the One 2 or the successor, whatever it's going to be called, appears at a later event, you know, the Samsung whole hoopla will be over by that point, and we'll have a really good chance to get excited about a device separate from MWC. So I think, yeah, I mean, the headline for me is going to be the Samsung because it's the one that's going to get the most eyeballs. But yeah, like you, I'm really interested to see what Nokia do. I'm also just really excited to see what gets thrown up apart from all these big hitters. You know, we've got ZTE, we've got Huawei, we've got these smaller firms that are still trying really hard to innovate. You know, it doesn't have to be a main phone manufacturer. There's guys doing stuff with 4G, with Bluetooth, with NFC. Some really clever guys out there. There's thousands of stands. So, you know, trolling around and finding out exactly what's going to happen there is going to be really exciting. And I'm looking forward to MWC because it's a time we can really, you know, get our teeth stuck in and find out exactly what's going on with the phone world and telling people exactly what's going to be happening for the next year.
So that's what's happening at MWC this year, but now it's time for a quick look at some of the stories you might have missed this week. We round up all the latest news and rumours on the next Google Nexus 10. Apple plans to bring fitness tracking to your ears. And our LG G Flex review is in. Click the link below to find out what we think of LG's flexible phone. And that's it for another phone show. Remember to stay with TechRadar for all the best coverage from MWC 2014. And for all your other smartphone needs, be sure to subscribe to techradar.com.